Develop an OCL course that incorporates best practices by Laura Howard. Choosing the belief for the most effective and beneficial online course. Kanuka, 2008, discusses how we must analyze our educational beliefs to decide how we want to conduct online education. Kanuka, 2008, explains that our beliefs help us determine what to include in a course, such as approaches, technology, and the participation actions of the instructor and students. Kanuka, 2008, in summary of her writing, discusses that once the beliefs are determined, there are particular technologies and participatory roles that should be focused on and accentuated to appropriately be represented in the ideologies, methods, activities, and participation roles. Developing the objectives for the course. The Hanover Research Council from 2009 states, in relevance to objectives, that, quote, "The first step in the planning process involves the development of learning objectives," end quote, from the Hanover Research Council from 2009, page 12. Some objective components, as explained in the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014, Standards from the QM Higher Education Rubric, 5th edition, in a higher education course, as an example, should be: the objectives in an online course, or any course for that matter, should clearly represent the ability to achieve the amount of learning that is required, from the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014. Objectives should distinctly and adequately describe what is to be learned, from the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014. Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014, from the Standards of the QM Higher Education Rubric, 5th edition, states that one of the learning objectives, competencies, for a higher education course should be, quote, "The relationship between the learning objectives or competencies and course activities is clearly stated," end quote, from the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014, Learning Objectives Competencies, section 2.4. Choosing and applying a theory to the course design. This presentation will focus on the online collaborative theory, OCL, components in course development. Harrison, from 2012, page 89, describes the OCL model as incorporating the following traits. Quote, "Online discourse, group learning, asynchronous, instructor-led, place-independent, text-based, internet-mediated discourse," end quote, from Harrison, 2012, page 89. Instructor or instructor's actions involved in the OCL theory. The OCL theory identifies the instructor or instructors as having important participation in the following ways, from Harrison, 2012. Facilitates the learning by monitoring the discussions, provides assignments, advice, and resources, is identified as a liaison of a professional community to teach and provide the educational ability to the students to actively communicate and become familiar with the professional community, and provides the students with the information they need to communicate appropriately and effectively as a practitioner or professional in the field, from Harrison, 2012. Choosing an OCL environment. Regardless of the choice of the environment, it should include the following OCL traits, from Harrison from 2012, which also provides best online practices for students and instructors. Quote, "Place-independent discourse," end quote, from Harrison from 2012, page 102, integrates the capability for boundless location access, which should result in more participation from people around the world to be in a course together, from Harrison from 2012. quote, time-independent as well as synchronous discourse, end quote. From Harrison from 2012, page 102. Permits access to a course all the time through its duration, which is described by Harrison from 2012, and also explained as a support service from Moisey and Hughes from 2008, regardless of time zones, which should also result in more global participation, from Harrison from 2012. The Internet has allowed us to communicate with an enormous range of people near and far, from Harrison from 2012. Quote, many-to-many discourse, as well as one-to-many and one-to-one communication, end quote, from Harrison from 2012, page 102. Creates the capability to communicate in groups or communicate between individuals as needed, from Harrison from 2012. Quote, text-based with multimedia discourse, end quote, from Harrison from 2012, page 102. Creates the capability to allow writing as the main form of communication as a way to visually display what someone is thinking and explain thoughts and ideas, which then can be commented on, replied to by others, and evaluated, from Harrison from 2012. Quote, internet-mediated discourse, end quote, from Harrison from 2012, page 102, provides access to the internet, which contains vast sources of information and communication capabilities, from Harrison from 2012. Determining the content and structure for online discourse. Harrison from 2012 explains that there should be features to create discussion forums and/or discussion places in the online environment that allow students, instructors, or others to communicate as a process of learning through each other's responses and information shared. Also, communication should be asynchronous in an OCL environment, from Harrison from 2012. Determining the content and structure for resources and media. Social media environment creates the capability as an added component for communicating, sharing, and creating content, from Harrison from 2012. Choosing and accessing online communities of practice. The instructor will be a liaison of an online community of practice to demonstrate to the students how to communicate and encompass the benefits of being part of an online community of practice in a particular field of study, from Harrison from 2012. Other online tools, search engines, content creation tools, blog creation sites, educational games, etc., from Harrison from 2012. Determining the content and structure for group activity. The OCL theory described by Harrison from 2002, as cited in Harrison 2012, page 93, and 2012, explains stages of OCL discourse activity that should efficiently organize and benefit student group work activity by using an online collaborative learning environment. Quote, idea generating, end quote, as cited in Harrison 2012, page 93, the main topic or question should invite and welcome any ideas and insight from the group members, as cited in Harrison from 2012 and Harrison from 2012. Quote, idea organizing, end quote, as cited in Harrison from 2012, page 93. After reviewing all the ideas, the group members should create a categorizing process for the ideas, as cited in Harrison from 2012 and Harrison from 2012. Quote, intellectual convergence, end quote, as cited in Harrison from 2012, page 93, presenting the ideas in some way as a form of equal understanding, importance, and/or agreement, as cited in Harrison from 2012 and Harrison from 2012. Determining the content and structure for support services. Ott and Benke from 2006, Moisey and Hughes from 2008, and Harrison from 2012 specifically discuss some online support services that are important to have available as part of best practices and that can conform to the OCL theory. Committees and meeting groups involving all areas of academic participants and professionals, from Ott and Benke from 2006, online library and other online resources, from Moisey and Hughes from 2008 and Harrison from 2012. Technology Assistance and Support from Moisey and Hughes from 2008 and Harrison from 2012. Portals, a place for registering financial services, general information, and policies from Ott and Benkei from 2006, Moisey and Hughes from 2008, and Harrison from 2012. Developing the content and structure for assessments and evaluation. Determine how the students will be graded and evaluated from the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014, such as from tests, writings, participation, etc. The Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014 gives an example for a higher education course, as explained in the standards from the QM Higher Education Rubric, 5th edition, that, quote, "The course grading is clearly stated," end quote, from the Maryland Online Incorporation from 2014 Assessment and Measurement Section 3.2. Use a rubric. A rubric, for example, holistic or analytic types, should be included as a grading and evaluation structure to clearly organize and present when an assignment of a course is requiring of the student. From Purst from 2006 and Mertler from 2008. This should help the student understand how they are being evaluated and should help the instructor analyze and determine how the criteria is to be evaluated. From Purst from 2006 and Mertler from 2008. Mertler from 2008 explains that, quote, "Rubrics are rating scales," end quote, from Mertler from 2008 in Designing Scoring Rubrics for Your Classroom section, paragraph 1. Mertler from 2008 also explains, quote, "Regardless of which type of rubric is selected, specific performance criteria and observable indicators must be identified as an initial step to development," end quote, from Mertler from 2008 in Designing Scoring Rubrics for Your Classroom section, paragraph 5. Determining content and structure. Final thoughts. Make sure that there is a capability in the course and/or program for any kind of modification to be easily processed, updated, and/or eliminated. From Ott and Benkei from 2006. Have a plan to facilitate course or program components, technology, and methods that may need to be occasionally or frequently updated. From Ott and Benkei from 2006. Thank you for reviewing this presentation.